When life gets unpredictable, preparation matters. In medicine, it's all about staying alert, ready for whatever comes through the door. On the road, it's no different. That's why Volvo designs vehicles to help anticipate risk, reduce harm, and protect lives. The Volvo XC90's advanced safety systems inspire confident decisions wherever the road takes you. The Volvo XC90, for life. Proud sponsor of the Pit Podcast. Learn more at volvocars.ca/safety.
Great talk and good company every morning. Elias Makos, CJAD 800.
All right, welcome back to the Elias Makos Show. As Australia becomes the first country to ban social media for children under 16, Quebec is exploring a similar move. The idea, initially proposed by the youth wing of the CAQ, has sparked debate, with supporters citing mental health concerns and critics highlighting enforcement challenges and potential harm to vulnerable youth. Australia's law, which fines platforms up to $45 million for non-compliance, may serve as a model. Let's head over to Mitch Joel, tech advisor, investor, and the author of CTRL ALT Delete, the founder of ThinkersOne. Hi, Mitch.
Hey, Elias, thanks for having me.
So what do you think? I mean, it sounds pretty reasonable to me. I mean, 15 or less, under 16, no social media for you. Sounds pretty reasonable. What do you think?
I think it's a bit blunt, and I say this as someone who has young kids and would like to see this completely removed from their lives and a return to other times. But the reality is it's a very, very complex situation. I think we know this age and demographic well enough to know that if we forbid kids from doing something, in particular this, it's usually the best way to encourage that type of behavior. And even though we already have laws in place not allowing certain kids to have accounts under 13 as an example, they're already feigning and faking this. And you have parents, by the way, also, where in the core Apple, they're allowing their kids to have a different birth year so that they can have things to access to apps and other things that typically you don't get beyond a certain age. So we have a very complex scenario, even in terms of usage, that I would be very careful about how it's deployed in a world where I think we do have other options besides this kind of scorched earth strategy.
What I'm just trying to figure out, what are the benefits here? I'm trying to think about for a 13, a 14, a 15-year-old. What are the benefits for them being on these social media platforms? All I can come up with is, they get a head start on their influencer career. And I don't think that's good enough. I keep going through all of these things in my head and saying it just seems like a reasonable thing to do, and to force, and to not put it on the users, to force the platforms to police themselves or risk a hefty fine seems like the way to do it. I'm just trying to think, what am I missing here, Mitch? What are because every decision has consequences. So what are the consequences that I'm missing out on banning social media for 15-year-olds and under?
So I think we have to start with small and then expand out a little. Small would be things like not everybody lives in a nice city like Montreal and has the ability to socialize with the multicultural and people who have various different backgrounds and ability. A lot of people are very, very isolated, and this gives them a chance to connect to communities that they may be, in a sense, vulnerable. One. Two would be access in a healthy way, obviously, to a type of communications or resource that typically they won't be allowed to. So now we are seeing access to these things be bifurcated and pushed down. And you do want people to have access and the ability to connect. If we expand it out, what I can tell you just off of usage is this is the way that they primarily communicate, in particular tools like Snap. So we could say, hey, we could change that, just go to text messaging and things like that. But we have a habit and a usage and things that they like. So there's a bit of, I would say, communication, socialization, connection that we have to be careful when we cut off. And then there is access to information. We have more and more traditional media not being accessible to young people. And yes, we could talk about left or right, the disinformation, but in general, access to these things, access to be able to sign up for activities, things like that, we need to be very cautious about. Again, I'm for it, and I agree with everything you're saying. I just think the mass swath of this could be quite dangerous, and I would be careful about taking this sort of blunt smashing of everything.
What do we know for this proposal and those who are in favor of it? What do we know about the effects? Let's talk about the consequences of doing nothing, right? So there's consequences to everything. What do you believe are the consequences of everyone just saying, you know what, how things are going right now are fine. There's real no issue. Sure, kids have changed. They've always changed. Since the dawn of time, kids have changed over generations. What are the consequences of doing nothing?
Everything. I mean, I think that, again, I wouldn't say this is an either or situation. I think we have to look at the grays here. Doing nothing is no option right now. We have extreme levels of social media sadness and feelings of inequity. We have depression. We have suicidal. We have disinformation. We have all the bad stuff. But with the bad, we also have the good. And I think we just need to think of it from a balanced perspective. I worry that if we do this, that the tech companies will really defocus on their content moderation and data collection, because they'll essentially say, well, we have this age verification thing, and that's good enough. And I also worry that by doing this, we are offsetting the real work of the government. It's very sexy to say ban TikTok. It's not sexy to say things like we need to invest in things like health services, mental health, education, and real support for our young people.
Yeah, I see. And that to me is the problem, right? Like, oh, well, we just need to invest in mental health. There's never been a greater focus on children's mental health. Yet here we are, the worst mental health we've ever seen. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, I actually believe. When it comes to children's mental health, the more we talk about it, the more we tell children they have an issue, the worse it's going to get. So that's another thing that I struggle with, right? Because I'm looking at consequences, and right now I don't think it can get any worse. What about enforcement here, Mitch? We live in Canada. We have seen Facebook Meta be so capable at blocking news content since, the federal government imposed their law on the social media companies. When you hear someone say, oh, there's going to be so many ways to get around it. Oh, kids will find a way. What do you think on that? Because clearly when it's in Meta's best interests, they've been so good at blocking the accounts and content. Would you buy it if they're not able to do so in this case?
Yeah, I don't think they're doing it great in the other case as well. In fact, what we're seeing right now is the government still going after Meta in particular, because their argument is people are still sharing content. How are we doing this? We're copying and pasting. We're putting an X in front of the URL. We're putting images up of the work. So no, while we say that they've been great at it, I would argue that they haven't been, because the real issue is the users and the workaround and the content creation. Young people are exceptionally good and much better than most of us are at doing this. So my worry is fundamentally that we can do this, but what's really going to happen? And then again, what is the downside of doing it? Again, I'm worried that I don't want to just put the bearer of brunt on these tech companies. I want the government to show me a path. Tell me how you're going to do this. Tell me what this looks like. In fact, if you look to Australia, they're saying all this stuff, but they're actually not being very specific about what those steps are. Mm-hmm. So again, what's the anticipation that the platforms are going to figure out how to do this and just simply comply?
Mitch, do you think we should just wait and see? Like literally, we've got an island nation that has decided to do this. Shouldn't we take this opportunity to see how it plays out in that country? And then make some decisions, maybe, 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now.
I want to remind you and our listeners of the Canada's Online Harms Act, Bill C-63. Yeah. It's currently in its second reading in the House of Commons. Where are we at with that? If the government can demonstrate that they can deploy this, which should stop and help us at least with cyberbullying and other issues, then I'm willing to see where we go with this. But we have stuff currently in play that we are not enabling or enacting on, and we're not educating and bringing it down. So until we do that, my fear is we're just doing more headlines.
Mitch, got to leave it there. Always a pleasure.
Have a great day. Thanks, Elias.
Mitch Joel is the founder of ThinkersOne.